Hey there, folks. My name is Brockchart, and we're back at you with another tutorial. This one is Shadow Dance. This one is the very last tune in Five Finger Rock, Book 2, and it's actually a teaser for our next series, which will be Five Finger Classics, which kind of imitate songs from like the classical or Baroque or Romantic eras of music. And yeah, so this one's actually kind of a classical tune. Gosh, this one was honestly one of the first pieces I wrote for a student. I wrote this one back in 2014. So it was kind of a lullaby, and I always love those. Wind up ballet toy boxes that would just like play really beautiful sounds and very soft. And I don't know, a lot of them were kind of like in a minor setting, or at least the ones I've heard, so which is kind of weird, but really beautiful. And so that's kind of the inspiration for Shadow Dance. And so we're going to start this one with the left hand. And so your left hand pinky is going to be on G. And we do have B flats and E flats in our key signature. And so watch out for that. And I'm going to prepare for that by going ahead and putting that third finger up on that black key there. And looking ahead in that second measure, I know that my pinky is going to stretch to that F sharp. And so maybe I'll just go into the piano and just a tad, just so I can stretch and easily hit that pinky on that F sharp without having to, really, I don't know, twist my elbow or my wrist or anything like that. So I'm just going to go into the key bed a little bit more. Articulations are really important for this left hand here. And so we're going to have this long, short, long, long, da, da, long, short, long, short, long. And so when you look at the music, the left hand, excuse me, even though it's all played in the left hand, we have notes with stems going up and we have stems going down. Which is a little unusual all in the same hand. That's usually notated when there's kind of different voices happening. And that's exactly what's happening here. We have this held bass note that maybe, if you're thinking in a string quartet or something, maybe this is our cello or our double bass. And they're just laying down like kind of the bass notes there, while maybe our violas and our violins are kind of doing these upper parts. Ba, 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 ba. And so it's a little tricky to be able to do all of that in the same hand. And so I would get in the habit of just bringing it short, long, boom, short, long, and I'm just kind of doing it in slow motion. So I am having to kind of slide that pinky a little bit when I go to that G back from the F sharp. So, and it's totally fine too if you want to let go of that pinky, just like a half a beat or even a full beat before the next one, just so you can hit that next one a little bit easier. Go for it. So it is not going to hurt my feelings. So you got it. But those articulations above those middle notes, that staccato, and then we have kind of a two-note marking short, long, long, short, long, short, long. And so kind of the key to this, and one of the challenges, is being able to juggle that left hand while the right hand is doing our melody. Which let's go over that right now. So the right hand is going to start in measure 5 after our left hand does our intro. And the tune is a lot about these sixths kind of happening in this descending motion. Ba-dee, ba-da, ba-da, ba-da. And so I'm going to angle my hand just a little bit, or go into the key bed rather, maybe I should say that, because I have a pinky on that black key. Remember, we have B flats and E flats. We got to watch out here. And so we're going to start on the and of one. And so whenever I do or play a melody with almost like a pickup into a strong beat, I like to breathe on the rest. So it helps me, I don't know, just kind of feel the time better and get ready for that, almost like a singer or a wind instrument would do. So let's try that together. We're going to sing and play right hand in measure 5, and we're going to breathe on those rests. 1, 2, 3, and 2, 3, and 2, 3, and 2, 3, and 2, 3. Yeah, now make sure you're not going too fast that you I don't know, end up hyperventilating or passing out or something. So, just be making sure that you're breathing out as well. But I do think that taking those quick breaths in, it helps me feel that rest a little bit better. And so, yeah, if you do it enough, you kind of get in the habit of doing that, no matter if you're playing shadow dance or another piece. So it's just kind of a habit I've built up. I don't know, probably from my choir teacher, I would imagine. But yeah, I found it useful even in piano too. And so the right hand, we have this eighth note followed by the half note, and it's important to note that not every note is equal. The B flat is held for longer. Music is an art form that takes place over time, and so things that take more time are usually more important. And so this is one of those cases. So the the D is kind of a pickup going into the stronger note, and so make sure it's not where like the higher note or that longer note is softer. We want the opposite, to where soft loud, soft loud, soft loud, soft loud. So yeah, be aware of that. Usually it's not always the case, but in my experience, usually the higher notes have kind of a priority. Again, not always the case, but a lot of the times. And the notes that are held for longer have priority or emphasis. So not always the case, but it's right a lot of the time. So, and there's kind of if you guys are working with kind of song form, this is a great example of this. We have kind of our A theme a little bit, and then a lot of songs will have a counter theme, which is this, right in measure 9. So I'm a really big fan too of like the film composer Danny Elfman, and I was definitely channeling some Danny Elfman in here. He's the guy that wrote Nightmare Before Christmas and like Edward Scissorhands and the original Batman theme song, and he usually pairs up with Tim Burton as the director. And I really love their stuff together. Danny Elfman's writing is just, I don't know, very dark and I don't know, kind of cartoonish too, and it kind of works really well together, strangely. But yeah, check out some of those movies or even just the soundtracks on YouTube. It's really cool stuff. But that's kind of what I was imagining, especially this part, like in measure 9. So be cautious about the dynamics. This is a piece that has a lot of ways that you can do differently to play it differently, to bring out different phrases. And I encourage everybody to, have kind of a different interpretation of this. And so I like these kind of swells. And so where it goes kind of louder and then it comes back a little bit. So yeah, we would call that kind of a swell. So some people might call those like hairpins there, with the crescendo immediately followed by a diminuendo there. But yeah, so watch out for those. And then the same or a very similar phrase happens in measure 13. It's exactly the same, right? That what we saw in measure 5, but we're adding two things. First thing that we're adding is the pedal, which typically makes it just a little bit louder, a little bit fuller sound. And the second thing that we're adding, a lot of students don't recognize the first time, is if you look at the right hand melody right on beat 2, you actually play that eighth note pickup again as part of a chord. So it'll be like right chord, right chord, right chord, right chord. So yeah, it adds kind of a little more, fullness and volume, but it also adds some harmonies. And so, and 2, 3, 1, and 2, 3, and I'm gonna get louder here. Now be careful, that would be a great spot to circle right there and measure, let's see, that's 16, because that one is F natural. So it is F sharp the first time we do it, right in measure 8, but it's not a typo, F natural there. So make sure that that is matched in that left hand as well. And we kind of have this, our counter melody like we had talked about, but it's kind of cool. The left hand is doing something different. And so that's something that I love to do in my music, where maybe one hand is doing something the same that we've heard before, while the other hand does something different that is new. And so the left hand up to this point is, kind of doing this G minor, D7, G minor, D7. But once we go to that F natural, if you look at the shape, we're kind of going up. And if you just kind of look at the pinky, G, A, B, B, C, D, we're going up. So by step or half step there. And so it's kind of cool. What was kind of a minor sound right in measure 9, it becomes kind of a major sound. So we have this B flat chord happening there instead of this G minor. So it's a little bit brighter. And then this diminished thing, which is kind of cool, C minor. And then the resolution on the 5 chord. So I would really encourage students to experiment and explore with stretching and compressing phrases here. I think that that's a really valuable skill, and not a lot of people talk about why we do it. And what I mean by that is, if I like this part of the music, that I really love the moment where there's that F natural right in measure 16. That's kind of new and different, and it's got a forte there. It's kind of building to that moment. I really like that. And a little bit earlier in the video, I had said that music is an art form that takes place over time. And so more important things take more time. If I like something as a performer and I want to emphasize it, then maybe I'll stretch it out to where it does take up more time. It's just we're kind of savoring the moment. And so what I mean by that, by stretching out phrases, is I'll play in 13, this is in time, and then maybe I'll stretch. And then I'll go back into time. So I kind of lingered on that chord that I really liked. Just a little bit longer. It makes it very expressive and flexible. I always tell students that, this type of playing is kind of like the tides of the ocean. It goes in and it comes out. It goes in and it comes out. A lot of times with this, if I stretch something out, then I like to compress something. There's kind of this equal balance. And so, I would encourage you guys, your interpretation of the piece is going to be different than mine, and that's totally fine. I encourage it. So whatever you want to stretch out, or whatever moment in this piece, or several moments, or whatever that you really like, circle it and put a star next to it, or whatever marking, so then you know that this particular spot you're going to bring out every time you play it. And then you can practice different ways of really making that moment punch. So that might be stretching it, that might be compressing or making something faster and then slowing it down. So we can try and see what that sounds like. So again, I'm really looking for the part that I like personally is this F natural there, but yours might be different, and that's totally cool. I encourage it. So I'm going to try something different, and I'm going to go a little bit faster that measure before and then slow down. So and then I'm back in time here, but you could see that I was kind of doing this like a little accelerando is another word for it, right in 13. And then the part that I really like, maybe I put a star there because I want to emphasize that. Then that's the part that I slow it down. So, but yeah, so I would encourage you guys to, try some different things, circle the spots that you like, so then you can try it out for yourself. Right in measure, actually 19. So we do have like a retardando there. And so it is kind of like a built-in, phrase ending there. And then right in 21, this is probably getting to be the loudest part of the tune right here in measure 26, 27. And so in things I like to get a little bit faster here as well. And the left hand actually kind of takes the lead, I always think, here. And you can be a little bit more assertive and aggressive in this left hand, especially in the bass notes. So I always like to do that whenever I play this. And so let me play that section for you, and then we'll kind of hit it again a little bit slower. 2, 3, 2, 3. And now I'm going to go a little faster here maybe, and then I'm going to slow down. So to where the speed is almost increasing as my dynamics are. So is every piece like that? No, definitely not. But this one, I kind of like doing that, and but I encourage you guys, again, it's totally fine and encouraged to have a different interpretation. That's what makes this stuff so cool. And so, maybe try that out where you get a little bit faster as you get louder, and maybe try a different take where you don't, And sometimes it could be fun just to completely do the opposite of whatever the composer wrote. And I encourage that. Trust me, you have my seal of approval. You got the green light. Try stuff. I want you to make this piece your own. Your right hand is doing kind of the sixth. That is what the melody is made up of, but we're doing these almost as a harmony because that left hand is really kind of taking the lead here. And we're going to kind of more or less go in an ascending motion up until here, and then we're kind of bringing everything in to a fifth. Let's talk about this left hand because it is a little bit tricky. So the first part is not that bad. This is actually the same notes that we saw at the beginning, but we're just arpeggiating them. Now here, this chord should sound familiar. This is kind of like that F natural that I really liked before, but it's just in the left hand. And so I would encourage almost like doing block chords right on beat one and holding them is a really great way of practicing this, especially with pedal. Gives you time to move. And 25 is something different. 25 is something different. You do have to stretch your hand out a little bit more. I would call that like an E flat major 7. And so I'm going to stretch my hand E flat, B flat, D. And then I'm going to go diagonal to where I have F sharp, C, E flat. And then like the right hand, I'm going to kind of go in back to my normal position. So yeah, but I would, even if there's a bunch of eighth notes there, I always encourage students to just look at the first three because that's really the chord. And just play it as a block chord. Put the pedal down and you can hold it for 3 beats, you can hold it for 4, whatever. 1, 2, switch, 1, 2, switch, 1, 2. This is the weird one. 2, here's another weird one. Watch out for this E flat here because the F sharp is notated, but the E flat we assume because of our key signature. So that one, maybe give yourself a courtesy E flat there. Yeah, that's kind of the climax of the tune, and then things kind of start de-escalating there. 3, 1, 3, 1, 3, 1. This part of the tune, I always ask students, have we heard this before or have we seen this before? So let me play this for you and you can ask yourself. So some students will get right away that like the left hand is the same thing as measure 21, which it is. Oh, it's just an octave off. Not very many students get where the right hand comes from. And it's kind of tricky. I'm being a little tricky here. And so it's, if you speed it up, so it's the original melody that we saw on the very, very first page, but I'm changing the rhythm. And so instead of this, and 2, 3, and 2, everything is quarter notes. And so this is something, sometimes people would say that we're augmenting something. We're making it larger. And so that's something that we can do. Instead of compressing and making it into smaller rhythms or shorter rhythms, we can augment something and kind of expand it, make them into larger, longer rhythms. And so we have 1, 2, 3. Everything's on the beat now. 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I don't know, I always like to slow down there, but you know, my interpretation might be different than yours. 2, 3, and then there is a slowdown here, and you can take your time right here. I didn't write a fermata, but you can kind of do whatever you want. This section is one of my favorites, right in 42. And so it's our counter melody that we've seen and honestly haven't heard for a little bit. I don't think until the first page. But it's not over the same notes. We're used to hearing it over the E and the B, but this time we're doing it over the B flat and the A. And so the left hand is kind of going back to its very beginning a little bit, but the right hand is kind of, it's a good way to reuse old material and make it sound fresh. Be careful that, where it's written, the right hand is very high. And so I put, 8 VA over that whole thing. And so remember, we're going to be up at the tip top of the piano. Take a look at measure 44. So this is, the hands are kind of overlapping here. And if you look at the way that I play it, I like literally kind of put my left hand thumb up. You can also put it like down, just as long as it's not in the right hand's way, as it is kind of overlapping a little bit there. So yeah, so just make sure, your thumbs aren't fighting. And then we've got this 15 MA, and we go all the way to the highest E flat on the piano here in the right hand. And we're going to slow down over 4. So, yeah. And I think that that'll do it for Shadow Dance. So thank you so much for joining us, and I hope you liked the piece, and I hope this video helped you learn it. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one.